In 2005, the newspapers of America sold $49 billion of advertising. 15 years later, that number had fallen by more than 80%. Newsrooms that had covered 2 world wars simply switched off the lights. You already know who killed them. The internet did. But here's what almost nobody has noticed. The exact same execution is now underway again, and this time, the victim is the internet itself. And you can watch it happen in a single line of Google's own earnings report. For 20 years, the entire open web ran on one invisible bargain. You, the publisher, the blogger, the small business, gave your content away for free. In return, Google sent you visitors. Those visitors became ad revenue, subscriptions, customers. Content flowed up to the search box, traffic flowed back down to the websites. Nobody ever signed it, but that barter built the internet you know. Artificial intelligence has just quietly broken it. When an AI answers your question directly, at the top of Google or inside ChatGPT, it still uses the web's content. It just stops sending the traffic back. The web keeps feeding the machine. The machine stops paying rent, and the money that used to flow to millions of websites is now migrating one layer up the stack, from the page to the answer. That's the claim of this video, and I'm going to prove it with the numbers. AI isn't disrupting the web's content, it's voiding the web's business model. To understand where this ends, you have to know we've seen this movie before, beat for beat. Rewind to the year 2000. If you wanted to sell a used car, hire a plumber, or rent an apartment, you paid a newspaper for a classified ad. Classifieds alone were a roughly $20 billion business, and they quietly subsidized everything else a newspaper did: the foreign bureaus, the investigations, the local reporters. Then a free website called Craigslist did the same job for nothing. The revenue didn't move to a better newspaper. It didn't move at all. It evaporated. And the function it paid for moving to the web, there's a name for this pattern. Harvard's Clayton Christensen called it the law of conservation of attractive profits. When one layer of an industry gets commoditized, the profits don't disappear. They migrate to whichever adjacent layer still controls the customer. The web didn't just take the newspaper's readers, it took the newspaper's place. It became the layer that owned the audience, and it turned newspapers into interchangeable suppliers of raw material. Google perfected this. It never wrote the articles. It organized everyone else's, sat between you and the web, and became the toll gate every website had to pass to reach a reader. And the suppliers told themselves a comforting story. Google needs us. Without our content, there's nothing to search. But every disrupted industry tells itself that story. It is always, eventually, wrong. Because the aggregator's goal was never to send you away. It was to answer you without ever letting you leave. For 20 years it couldn't. Now it can. So let's look at what's actually happening. Not in the headlines, in the data. In May 2024, Google began placing an AI-generated answer at the very top of its results. By early 2026, that answer shows up on roughly half of all searches. And when it does, people stop clicking. The Pew Research Center tracked 68,000 real searches. When an AI summary was present, users clicked through to a website just 8% of the time, versus 15% without one. And they clicked the sources cited inside the AI answer about 1% of the time. 1%. That's the value of the "we'll credit you with a link" promise. Multiply that across the web, and you get a structural event. Independent trackers now put around 60% of Google searches ending with no click to any website at all. Chartbeat, measuring thousands of news sites, found Google referral traffic down about a third in a single year. And the individual casualties are worse. HubSpot, one of the most sophisticated content machines on Earth, reportedly lost 70 to 80% of its organic traffic. These aren't hobby blogs. These are the companies that were supposed to be good at this. Now here's where it gets counterintuitive. The part the doom headlines get exactly backwards. You'd assume all this is bad for Google. It's the opposite. Google's search business is booming. In the first quarter of 2026, Alphabet's owned search revenue grew 19%, to $60 billion in a single quarter. The AI answer didn't cannibalize Google. It made Google stickier. You get what you need, and you never leave. So who's actually bleeding? Look at the line right next to it in the same report. Google runs a second ad business called the network, the machinery that places Google's ads on other people's websites and pays those publishers a cut. That line is the open web's paycheck, and in the very same quarter that owned search grew 19%, the network shrank 4%. One company, two businesses. One is the platform, the other is the ecosystem. The platform is thriving, the ecosystem is dying. And the market keeps staring at the wrong line, worrying about Google's search revenue, which is fine, while missing the quiet collapse of everyone who depended on it.
Meanwhile, Google's official position, stated in a live antitrust case, is that AI overviews are simply a better product. Lawful improvement, not extraction.
Maybe, but a publishing company called Penske Media, the owner of Rolling Stone and Billboard, sued Google in late 2025, arguing the opposite, that Google is using its search monopoly to strip mine their content and keep the audience. That case is live right now, and it's really a fight over one question: who owns the value that content creates? Meanwhile, follow where that value is going. It isn't vanishing, it's moving up the stack to the answer layer. ChatGPT now reaches 900 million people a week, and in February 2026, OpenAI switched on advertising for the first time and hit $100 million in annualized revenue within 2 months. They've told prospective investors that line could reach $100 billion a year by the end of the decade. The old web charged advertisers to reach you on a page. The new web charges them to reach you inside the answer. Same money, new landlord. So how should you actually think about this? As an investor, a builder, or just someone who wants to understand where the money went? Start with one model. An ad-funded website earns 3 numbers multiplied together: how many people arrive, how often they click, and what each 1,000 views is worth. Here's the trap. The cost of producing that content is fixed. The article costs the same whether 10 people read it or 10 million. So when AI cuts your clicks in half, revenue falls with them, but costs don't budge. That's operating leverage running in reverse. A high fixed cost business watching its top line drain away. It doesn't shrink gracefully. It hits a cliff, the point where the content costs more to make than it earns, and then it simply stops being made. That model gives you 3 practical takeaways, 3 ways to think differently the moment this video ends. First, re-rate everything by traffic dependency. Any business whose economics rest on free search traffic, ad-funded publishers, affiliate sites, thin content marketing funnels, is now structurally exposed, and cost-cutting can't save it. The flip side is just as real. Businesses that own their audience directly, subscriptions, genuine brands, proprietary data, just became more valuable. When you look at any company, ask one question: what % of your revenue depends on a click you don't control? Second, the toll booth is the new pick and shovel. In every gold rush, the reliable money isn't in mining, it's in selling shovels. The shovel of this era may be whoever meters AI's access to the web. Cloudflare, which sits in front of a fifth of all internet traffic, now lets any website charge AI companies to crawl it, reviving a payment mechanism that sat unused in the web's blueprint for 30 years. Value is migrating from ranking on Google to getting cited by the model, and from per click to per crawl. Third, only the unsummarizable survives. When a machine can compress generic information into 3 sentences, generic information becomes worthless. What can't be compressed keeps its value. A trusted brand, proprietary data, a real community, breaking news, genuine originality. The proof is already in the data. When an AI answer names a specific brand, clicks to that brand actually go up. The web isn't ending for everyone. It's ending for the average. So here's where we've landed. The open web was built on a barter, content for traffic, and AI has quietly voided the contract. It takes the content and keeps the visit. The value doesn't disappear, it climbs one rung up the ladder, from the page to the answer, from the ecosystem to the platform. The same pattern that killed the newspaper is now eating the thing that killed the newspaper. And remember the story every disrupted industry tells itself? They still need us. The newspapers believed it. Now the whole web is about to find out whether it's true, because there's one question this leaves dangerously unanswered. If the open web is the thing that feeds these AI models, every fact, every article, every answer, what happens when the web starves? When there's no traffic, no revenue, and no reason left to publish? Does the machine that ate its own source eventually poison itself? And who ends up paying to keep the web alive? That's not a side question. That's the whole endgame. And it's what we build dollar by dollar in the next episode. Episode 2 is live now, and if you want every teardown like this one as it drops, subscribe so the next finds you. Then tell me below, of the 3 shifts we traced, which did you already see coming, and which do you think I've got wrong?